For many years, the nation would sit down every evening and watch the NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. On the screen, we saw a spinning globe. There was something very peculiar about that globe, though, something which the station finally corrected on January 2nd, 1984, when they reversed the mechanism of that globe so that the Earth would be finally spinning in the right direction. All those years it had been going backwards, right before our eyes. How often we think the world is going in the wrong direction. How often we think our own lives are going in the wrong direction. Oh, that world continues to spin, but it's not spinning in the way we think it should be. And where do we turn to reverse it, to correct the course? There was a time when the religious leaders didn't believe that the earth was moving at all, but thought it was standing still with the sun moving around it. In 1632, when the great scientist Galileo published his work proving that the earth was moving, he was immediately called to Rome and made to renounce this heresy. Reluctantly he did, but they put him under house arrest for the rest of his life anyway, just to be sure. We are told that when Galileo was kneeling in front of those holy and wise bishops who knew that the earth was standing still, Galileo recanted piously and formally, but then as he was getting up from his knees, he muttered under his breath, "Eppur si muove." Oh, but it does move. Galileo had once remarked, "I cannot believe that the same God who endowed us with reason and sense and intellect would forbid us to use it." When we see the world moving in a wrong direction, where do we turn? We have come a long way since the days of Galileo. We have seen tremendous progress in the endeavor we call the space adventure. We remember the rockets going up in the 60s and watching people walk on the moon for the first time. The journalist Norman Cousins, writing in a scientific journal in 1979, said, "The remarkable thing about the lunar voyage was not that man set foot on the moon, but that they set eye on the earth." And we can imagine what a tremendous thing it must have been for those people to observe the earth from outside the earth, to see our own planet from a distance. What must that have been like? The first Arab astronaut, Sultan bin Salman al Saud, described what it was like for him and his companions to ride in Discovery space shuttle. He says, "The first day or so, we each pointed to our own countries. The third and fourth day, we were pointing to our continents. By the fifth day, we were aware only of one earth." What a tremendous realization for humanity, to be aware of only one earth. That these boundaries, these divisions we have artificially made between us have no meaning when we observe our earth from outside our earth. I remember that tremendous day when we landed on the moon. I remember watching the pictures of Pope Paul VI at the Vatican Observatory, looking through the telescope to see those human beings walking on the lunar surface. I remember reading the memoirs of the American astronaut Michael Collins, in which he wrote, "I really believe that if the political leaders of the world could see their planet from a distance of, let's say, 100,000 miles, their outlook would be fundamentally changed. The all-important border would be invisible, that noisy argument suddenly silenced. The tiny globe would continue to turn, serenely ignoring its subdivisions, presenting a unifying facade that would cry out for unified understanding, for homogeneous treatment. The earth must become as it appears, blue and white, not capitalist or communist. Blue and white, not rich or poor. Blue and white, not envious or envied. And I think his words ring true. What a tremendous thing to see our earth from a distance and see how humankind could be, how humankind should be. This week we mark Earth Day, a celebration of our planet. Perhaps surprisingly, one of the great proponents of Earth Day in the religious world was Pope Benedict XVI. In most fields, he was certainly not known for progressive views. But in the field of environment and climate change, he earned the name the Green Pope. He invites us on this day to re-examine our connection with our own planet, our connection with God's creation all around us. In our own age, we have lost that connection. Most of us walk on floors of wood or sidewalks of concrete, rather than feeling and experiencing the naked earth under our naked feet. How many of us anymore take our children out to marvel at the wonders of God's world around us? No, our children generally see them only through the medium of a screen. We have lost our connection to the earth. It was not always so. The ancient inhabitants of this land were very much connected to the earth. And the Lakota people of our Great Plains had an affectionate name for the earth. They called it Unci Maka, Grandmother Earth. So aware were they of our connection with the earth. They were aware, too, that if we are so connected with the earth, who is our grandmother, then we are just as connected to one another and very much connected with the God who made heaven and earth, the God who made us all. Do we see our world going in a wrong direction? To whom can we turn? To human leaders? Some of them can seem as much in touch with reality as those who condemned Galileo. Perhaps we should turn rather to the earth itself. Let us unite ourselves to this God-given earth, and in so doing, unite ourselves to all earth's sons and daughters. Let us unite ourselves to the Christ, the Lord of this earth, that Christ whom the earthly tomb could not contain, that Christ who burst the bonds of earthly death, that Christ who rose above the things of earth, that we could at last behold our earth with the eyes of heaven.